So Paul from Bike Rider TV here, and today we're testing something a little bit special. It's Triumph's new Trident 800. Why is it special, I hear you ask? Well, the funny thing is we've just picked it up off the showroom floor here at NV Motorcycles in Morrinsville in New Zealand, or the North Island. At the same time, the entire world's press are up in Cyprus in the Northern Hemisphere on the world launch, but we happen to have one sitting on a showroom floor, so it was a bit rude not to phone up and see if we could have a quick go. What's the Triumph Trident 800 all about? Well, essentially, if you think about the Triumph Tiger 800 Sport, think about that in a naked, road-friendly layout, well, that's pretty much gives you the Trident. But it's not exactly the same. There's been changes to the chassis, a new subframe, and also a different tune to the 798cc three-cylinder engine to really promote that road-going nature of the Trident. Now, here in New Zealand and pretty much the rest of the world, the Trident 660 has been a massive success for Triumph. Here in New Zealand we get a Lambs version, which means it's restricted for learner riders, and also a full power version. So what they've done with the new 800 is that they've basically made the natural progression for those riders to step up to. It's looking like it pretty much ticks all the boxes. So the real surprise for us here in New Zealand is for the price point of $17,490 plus on-road costs. This bike has pretty much everything on it that a road motorcyclist would need. It's got a beautiful triple-cylinder power plant that's now pushing out 113 horsepower, and it's been given a road tune, so it's slightly different to the Tiger Sport. But it's got an electronic suite as well, so we've got 3 rider modes. We've got lean-sensitive traction control, lean-sensitive ABS. It's even got cruise control. It really has got everything that a mid-capacity road rider would want, and for that price, it's pretty impressive. So I've been for a quick spin on this new Trident 800, and what I can say, even from not riding it very much, is that this is Triumph triple through and through. That motor, it's just like the street triple power plant, but this one's got loads of bottom end. When it gets to the mid-range, it then really does take off and start to howl. As I say, it is Triumph triple through and through, so don't think this is a dumbs down street triple by any stretch of the imagination. Motor's real nice. When the engineers were doing the press briefing with us, they told us that when they do the different modes, different throttle modes, they like to make it so there is a significant difference. You know, we get on a lot of bikes, you change modes, you can't really feel much difference. There is a significant difference with this. I went from road to sport, didn't bother rain, as it's like 30 degrees and dry. It is a noticeably sharper throttle response, but the real benefit is that it dials back the traction control. And where we're riding here at the moment, there's sort of lots of yomps and hills and that sort of thing, and it'll quite comfortably just lift the front wheel as you're going over crests. It doesn't shut it down, it doesn't slam you back down onto the floor, it just dials down the power and just brings the front wheel down nicely. So that's a real nice touch. Road mode, traction control is a little bit more aggressive. The bike itself, for me, I'm 6 foot tall, does feel, I'd say, a fraction tight. The sculpted saddle and then the sculpts in the tank lock you in. And so I'd say if you're any bigger than me, you probably want to sit on one and just check that it all fits. I'm not saying it was too small for me, but you could just feel I was probably at the edges of the design brief. The handling is where this bike really shines, and the difference between this and the Street Triple R RS, it's just a bit softer. It's just a bit more compliant, especially the rear actually. You can feel it working rather than, you know, banging into the bumps and what have you. I didn't bother fiddling with the suspension. We really don't have that much time. We've just borrowed the bike for the evening, but the forks were nice. We've got quite rough roads over here in New Zealand. They didn't bang through the stroke or anything like that. They were nice and compliant, and even when I was grabbing a handful, we got twin 4-pot radial mount calipers at the front there. Loads of braking power, like heaps of braking power, lots of confidence, lots of feel. Triumph always do good brakes. The suspension was nice and composed. The rear, if you're going to do anything with the suspension, I'd say it's going to be the rear where you're going to do it. But again, it's one of those things, you get on the bike, you know what this bike is for. It's more of a road bike. If you really wanted to, maybe that's something you'd address. Looking at the bike, it's nice. Actually a nice little exhaust can. A lot of the bikes have been coming through with the most ginormous exhaust cans. Obviously, a lot of the damping and what have you is being done in the collector box underneath, which, if you're going to change exhausts, does create a little bit of an issue. This is Euro 5 plus, and the powers that be are making it as hard as they possibly can for us to take a standard exhaust off and put a race pipe or a noisier pipe on. To be fair, this bike sounds so good already, I don't know whether you'd bother. Whether it would unleash a bit more power, you'd have to wait and see. If you're that worried about it, you probably don't want to be buying this. You probably want to be going and buying the Street Triple. Now, being more of a road bike, it's great to see that Triumph have given the new Trident 800 road rubber. You see a lot of sport bikes that turn up with essentially racetrack rubber. We've got Michelin Road 6, the latest Michelin Road 6 tyres on this, and they really do, funnily enough, work on the road. Like I say, we've probably got 30-degree heat here in New Zealand at the moment. Our roads get really messy when it gets hot. The bike didn't put a foot wrong. I didn't feel traction control kicking in, and to be fair, our roads get quite slippery and slidey, so that's a real plus point, I think. Where does the Trident 800 fit in the market? Like we say, with Triumph themselves, it's a little bit tight there. They've got the Tiger Sport 800, which is essentially this bike, but just a little bit more adventure-y, more sit-up. Then they've got the Street Triple 765R, which is a little bit more expensive. But what about the competition? I'd say for us here, maybe Yamaha's MT-09, which is a bit more expensive. It's $18,300, but that's the right-away price. So it's quite similar to this. Again, similar sort of power as well. So 118 horsepower with the 3-cylinder power plant from the Yamaha. So those two are pretty similar. Looking at the other end of the spectrum, I guess, there's Suzuki's GSX 8S parallel twin, 800cc parallel twin, quite a bit cheaper, but down on horsepower. They're only about 80 horsepower. You also don't get that beautiful 3-cylinder soundtrack. There's a few other options, you know, there's Honda's Hornet, KTM 990 Duke even, and even the Husqvarna 801. So there is a bit of competition in this segment, but for us here in New Zealand, I think pretty much overall, Triumph have nailed it on price. So the 17.5 grand, essentially for one of these, plus on-road costs. It's pretty much on the money and it's very competitive, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. So wrapping up, who's the new Triumph Trident 800 for? Well, as you can probably see here, people with short legs maybe actually. It's got an 811mm, I think it is, seat height. It's nice and slim, so you really can get your feet flat on the floor. It's I guess a bike with big horsepower, big performance, but it's actually nice and compact and nice and easy to control and sit on. So that's definitely going to be the sort of people that this bike will appeal to. Obviously those moving up from a Triumph Trident 660 or any of the sort of 660 range. I think, to be fair, there's going to be a lot of people who are also moving down, who want a bike that's a little bit more manageable, but still got that sort of performance and obviously still got the noise of this triple and also the Triumph name. For us here in New Zealand, to be fair, our policing is quite tight. We can't really make use of 200 horsepower superbikes on the road. So having something like this it's enough horsepower to have fun, but it's not something you're going to go crazy with. It's nice and compliant, it's easy to ride. It's the sort of bike that you could commute to work and back during the day, go out and have a blast at the weekend. You could probably stick a bag on the back, a tank bag on the tank, and go touring on it. So for a bike that can really do a bit of everything, I think the new Trident 800 really does tick all the boxes.